Hi, everyone, and welcome to Alpha House. And on our podcast today, I have with me the man, the legend, Cyrus Jirongo. How are you?
I'm well, Sarah. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show tonight.
Asante sana.
And of course, we are expecting someone else to join us, but we will keep it low for now. Just keep watching so that you get to know who's joining us. But we have a gentleman who will also be joining us, and you will enjoy his conversations. Cyrus, have you seen Catholic bishops' statements?
Yes.
They've told President Ruto, you need to stop with the lies. In fact, Bishop is that his name?
Kimengich.
Yes, of Eldoret say, let me just read it direct. A culture of lies in government is swiftly replacing the integrity and respect that Kenyans deserve. Basically, it seems that the truth does not exist, and if it does, it's only what the government says. What do you have to say?
At least the church is redeeming itself. That's the best I can do. You know what the situation is in the country. You have an executive, which of course must do what the boss wants. But in a proper executive, the boss does what the technical team and those that he has appointed to assist advise. He, of course, is the other way around. So you have an executive that is totally emasculated. You have a parliament that equally the same with the Senate. And the only hope Kenyans had was the judiciary. But of course, recent rulings, and the worst bit having been people refusing even to recuse themselves from a case where everybody is saying they have been paid. A judge of integrity will obviously say, no, I'll stay out of this matter. But they insist to stay because, of course, they must perform according to what very many people suspected, including what Hamino said. So the only alternative left is two people. The church to redeem itself and stand with the congregation, and the Kenyan citizen. And the citizens. They have to stand on their own and say, no, we are claiming back our country. And
for me, what's from this whole statement where the bishops, they stated a lot of things that are not working. And then after that, every government department, State House, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, leader of majority in Senate, like everyone is sending a statement to counter what the bishops said.
Sometimes
Why is this going on?
You see, reality is being felt. So what the bishops are saying is a reality. It does not matter how many times you counter it. Just like today, we saw a lot of statistics being produced by the judiciary. We've done this, we've done that, we've done that. Of course, even the Chief Justice issuing a statement on KTN and saying, we are a child, we are growing, do not throw stones at us, blah, blah, blah. We had Maraga, nobody threw a stone at the judiciary because it upheld its integrity. Today again, the church had lost. Remember when the young people went to the streets? One of the places they want to occupy was a church because Kenyans believe strongly that the church is responsible for the current leadership that we have. So if you continue coming up with statement refusing the obvious, you make it worse. If I'm accused of a wrongdoing and I want to retain my position without wearing it, the first thing I do is to apologize. The second thing I do is to say, I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to address the mistake. And I will ask, judge me by this time, look at the changes that I'm going to make. Look at the way, even myself, my attitude has changed, the way I'm going to handle things. So it is not denials, it's not countering that shall solve the problem. It is admitting I have a problem. It is admitting I have done it wrongly. If you are countering, it means you don't even understand you are doing it wrongly. And if you don't understand you are doing it wrongly, then your fate is sealed.
But why is, because I saw the senator, not senator, he's an MP, Oscar Sudi. Mm-hmm. He's attacked Bishop, specifically Archbishop Muheria, Anthony of Nyeri. And he said that when in the former government, when River Yara happened, he did not speak, which is not the truth, because actually he called out the government during that time. But he's specifically attacking this bishop and saying that this is the bishop who's coming out when initially he never attacked Uhuru Kenyatta, he never attacked President Kibaki.
You must understand.
Why is it personal for Muheria?
No, it's simple minds. They think, we must protect home. And protecting home, we must create an enemy for our people and tell our enemy, that Kikuyu is our enemy. He doesn't sell anymore.
But Muheria didn't even speak in the conference.
He didn't. But you see, you have to understand the mind we are dealing with. This is a very simple mind that thinks the only way I can retain my community is to identify an enemy and tell my people that that enemy, we have been fighting him in Rift Valley for a long time. He's still the enemy. Are you getting? Yet, why I'm calling it a simple mind is that whatever chaos that have taken place in Rift Valley is actually primitive. When you start fighting somebody who bought land, when you start fighting somebody who's causing development, when you start fighting somebody who's producing and paying taxes, when the Constitution says that Kenya belongs to Kenyans, and you still think you can use that to create a wedge between Kenyans using tribe, it's extremely simple, very, very simplistic, because I think the generation we are dealing with is slightly much more intelligent than
what we had.
We've had for a long time.
And it's very unfortunate. I think I am so proud that the church is taking its place.
They are redeeming themselves, not that they are taking responsibility.
Yeah.
We are where we are because of the church. So let the church redeem itself by saying, an intelligent way of apologizing to Kenyans is now taking the forefront, taking the sword and saying, no, we cannot agree this to continue anymore. That way, it's a better apology the church is passing over to the Kenyan people by being the one that tackles the evils that are going on in society, saying the government is doing this, you are doing this, corruption, abductions, murders, suppressing democracy, and all those kinds of things. The church should come forward, and that is the only way its apology to its congregation carries some weight.
Great, good to hear from you. And guys, I had told you earlier we are waiting for a guest who will be joining us. And the man himself, he's a bit late, but he's here with us, and we are happy to have him. Fanya, Mambo, how are you?
A very good evening to you. I apologize. We left Egerton at 3 p.m. The university itself. I was there as a keynote address speaker. So we just flew here. Somehow.
You flew. No wonder you're in a kaunda.
At least you're here.
Well, so I profusely apologize to everybody. It's not a disrespect of their time or everything. It's just that it happened the way it happened. But I'm happy to be here. And it's good to be part of this conversation.
Great. Yeah. Good to have you. So we were just catching up with Cyrus here and speaking about the church in Kenya and what is going on with the apology. So are you happy with how the government has reacted to the Catholic bishop's statements?
First and foremost, it's a very interesting place to be when I had so many churches. Every day they were yelling on press conferences and saying a million things, saying this, saying that, saying the other. Churches were making a lot of noise about so many things.
And a lot of prophecies.
And then the Catholic Church was quiet. And they wake up one day and they do a press conference. In fact, a very polite one. They were not even shouting. They were not even yelling. And within less than 24 hours, there were more than 15 reactions from the same administration.
From different government departments.
It tells you they either have a very soft spot for the Catholic Church or they fear the Catholic Church so much. Because pastors have said a million things. They have yelled all over.
But pastors cannot be trusted because they kept working with
Yes, but
Brown envelopes.
when the Catholic Church
Other than
spoke,
the proud envelopes, they were prophesying every day.
Yes.
They told us this is-
The prophecy that is paid for. I've not had a Catholic bishop
No.
prophesy anything.
they didn't waste their time on that because they know. I'll tell you why.
Yes.
First and foremost, the Catholic Church runs very many hospitals and dispensaries in this country. And this thing they call SHIF, there's a SHIF.
Schools also.
This thing called SHIF, Kenyans are deciding to remove the F at the end and put a T. And it's working better that way. So that SHIF with a T instead of an F at the end is what is causing even the Catholic Church to make that pronouncement.
Or they didn't like others.
Because they are watching people die. They are watching people become helpless at their health facilities, which are in the thousands in this country.
Yeah.
And these people are not able to do much. And the government owes them a lot of money. But secondly, and more importantly, they run a lot of schools. So many schools. We are staring at 2025 when there will be no Form 1s in this country. What kind of absurdity is that? That there will be Form 1 classes that will be vacant. Because in the planning of very intelligent people that call themselves ministers for education and I don't know, professors, you should resign and be ashamed of yourself. Now we are going to have facilities without people in the name of Form 1, and then we have children who, sasa grade 9 wanatafuta nini huko? What is this nonsense of? Like now we are about to put our children through what is called a rite of passage. Many Kikuyu people are going to do that. And then they used to believe you go through rite of passage, even the Bukusu and the Luya, and then they go to
Kamatiriki.
Yeah, they go to Form 1. Now they are going back to mix with the same children as you do grade 8, 9, 7. Not I see basi tu mpaka 12.
Aye.
Anyway, the church is angry because what they are going through is unprecedented. They have not seen. And the Catholic Church is experiencing that firsthand. Can you imagine if they closed all their schools and all their hospitals?
I think they are Christians enough, they wouldn't do that for the sake of the people. And I was asking Cyrus what he thinks about the personal attack on Bishop Muheria in particular.
The attacker of Muheria is the problem. It's not
Engineer.
the attacked. Because you see in this country, there are people who've not had an admission number. The way you go to school, you get an admission number.
He went to highway. Well, he
So
claims.
when you attack Bishop Muheria, for you to be a Catholic priest to start with, you appreciate that the least that those people have is 3 degrees. You do first philosophy, then theology, then a degree of your choice. This is a very learned person. And I pray that Muheria and the Catholic Church does not respond to that person. In fact, even mentioning his name is giving him too much mileage on this show. Is not worth it. So he should not respond to that person. This is a person with 3 degrees, probably a doctorate. It's a person who is very learned. He's
actually a flight engineer by profession.
What these people should be addressing is what the bishop said. Is there anything in the content of what the bishop said that is a lie? But some guy without an admission number talking to a high school admission number talking to Bishop Muheria is not even worthy of response.
Wow.
Whatever you're saying, I look at it slightly differently than I mentioned. When a kid leaves a house and goes shouting certain things out there, that is what is happening inside that house. Now, and that's what is happening in that house.
Below the belt.
Yes. So, whatever pronouncements that were made, it's a veiled threat, because there's a bishop today, bishop from Eldoret,
Kimengich. If I get his name, yeah.
and he couldn't mention the name Kimengich. You are mentioning Muheria.
Muheria.
Why? Because it's a Kikuyu. So simple mind, right? And you've had that history. They still live in that past, where they think we can consolidate our people by saying we are under attack from the Kikuyus, or we are under attack from the Luos. That cheap mentality. It's just a kid who left the house, the kid is not fully developed, and then start shouting, right? But that is essentially what is the really thing the parents are discussing in the house, in my view. So don't take it that no admission number. It is lack of understanding that this is supposed to be inside the house. And then they rush to shout, and go back and tell Daddy, you know me, I told them today that this is what they are saying. So you need to look at it slightly deeper than you are.
So it's what they say when a dog barks.
Yes.
Look at who sent it.
Who is the owner?
I don't know who's the owner at this point. Personally, I can't pinpoint, but whatever he said makes a lot of sense. And I think basically that's what is happening in the political center in Kenya. Now, I want us to move this conversation. We now have a new president in the United States of America. President Donald Trump, you were very happy.
I told you the other day.
You prophesied.
You said, let Trump. No, I told you I would rather Trump wins.
And you're happy. How do you feel about it now?
I'm very happy.
So what does this new president mean for the United States first?
America first. He will sort out the American problems. He has no business sorting out the African problem, the Asian problem. He said, except Israel, which is an appendage of America, everybody else can go to hell.
MAGA.
And that is what I want.
Make
myself.
America great again.
Yeah, let him concentrate on his people. America is 325 million people. Africa, we are 1.5 billion people. Why would we depend on 325 million people to share the taxes with us in form of aid? You 1.5 billion people, you cannot produce for yourself. Just because you have always chosen stupid leadership.
Where? Stupid leadership. What's your take about
So why would the Americans waste their money?
Before we go to the details of the business part, your feeling about President Trump?
I had spoken on several TV stations and I had said he's my candidate.
Why? Seems I am the only Democrat on this table.
I pronounced myself on that very many times, and I had said he's my candidate. Every time the Republicans are in office, they don't care about Africa. They don't disturb us. They are not interested in our problems.
Yeah.
Every time Democrats are there, they want to disturb everybody. What are you cooking in your kitchen?
What does his presidency mean for America now?
First and foremost, I am happy because for me, I have always been, if Ruto goes this way, I have to go this way. So the fact that President Ruto was supporting Kamala Harris and the Democrats meant I had to be on the other side. By default.
By all means.
By default. Even without thinking. First I ask, where is this side? So before we even have policy conversations, I go to the other side. So they lost. And there was another person who was disturbing us around here and she resigned. And I'm also very happy that she resigned.
The first Kenyan woman president.
Yeah, because
she was like the president in Kenya.
Because people are speaking of human rights and she never thought that was important. So the fact that she's leaving or has left or is in the air is a very good thing.
Now that you brought it up,
get a similar one.
You've brought it up. So I have the letter which the embassy posted, which says, today I announced to my team at the U.S. Embassy that I submitted my resignation to President Biden. It's been an honor and privilege to serve American people through strengthening our partnership with Kenya. This is a line that caught my eye. I am proud of leading people-centered agenda that saves lives. See what you said and what she said. Increases security and creates economic opportunities for Kenyans and Americans. From delivering emergency funding, alleviate catastrophic flooding in 2023 to ongoing on the ongoing against malaria fight, HIV, Mpox, US, whatever. Then she said, this year the US elevated Kenya as the first major non-NATO ally in sub-Saharan Africa, reflecting the importance of our country's place on standing shoulder to shoulder to protect our democratic values and security. And it goes on and on. Your thoughts about that and her 2 years of service, Cyrus?
For me, let me start with this stupid thing that elevating Kenya to be a NATO ally. What can Kenya contribute?
Space
in our NATO?
Space?
No.
No, they can put their base.
You will provide space for their bases and recruit Kenyans to go and die in Haiti. That is essentially being a NATO ally. Kenya has no problem with China. Kenya has no problem with Russia. Kenya has no problem with Ukraine. Kenya has no problem with Israel. Kenya has no problem with Europe. It has no problem with America. We are being recruited for what benefit to this country? Other than serving interests that have no connection to the interests of this country, other than an individual being paid to send Kenyans to Haiti to go and die. So we are being told we become allies of NATO If NATO starts war with Russia, Kenyans are recruited to go and fight. What interest do we have in Europe? What interest do we have in Russia? Why should the Kenyans present themselves there?
And wait, before earlier when she came in, I remember former PM called her rogue, and this is the clip.
Leave Kenyans alone. If Manamano can lead to a dialogue between Ichungwa and Kalonzo, everything is good with Mandamano. Tell the rogue ambassador, Kenya is not United States. Kenya is not a colony of United States. Keep your mouth shut here. Otherwise, you will call for your recall back to your country. I think you.
Was Raila ahead of his time? He called it.
And let me be blunt, he was ahead of his interests.
Oh, interests, not time.
That time.
Anybody who is telling us that our problems are different from what we know is not our friend. If they want to help us, they should push this government to give us IEBC.
Why do you think
collecting signatures in some constituency in Nyeri and Kabete here? In fact, in these constituencies, we are done. The IEBC that passed Kindiki, because in the presidential statement, there was a statement to the effect that having consulted and conferred with IEBC, hereby appoint. Hiyo IEBC ilipitisha Kindiki. Sasa ipitishe 40,000 signatures za zimeokotwa Kabete na zingine zimeokotwa Nyeri and all the other places. We want to recall these people. Na hiyo IEBC ilipitisha Kindiki. Saa hii itisha elections. We are ready to recall some MPs. We know what our problems are.
Why do you think this ambassador was very a campaigner for President Ruto, in your very honest opinion?
Because he gave our troops to go to Haiti. You know, the whole agenda of the US trip was Haiti. At the beginning was Haiti, at the end was Haiti, in the middle was Haiti. And the Americans have always lost many wars. You remember they even lost in Somalia, and Kenya went and did what they did. Somalia is now trying to become a republic of their own. So they know that you camouflage our army in the name of police and put in a few police and send our army there. Ready. And we are not foolish. I mean, we have Kenyans who have relatives who are in Haiti and they can tell you, my brother or my father has never been a policeman, he's an army man, and they're in Haiti. It's not like Kenyans are foolish, but they are there, they are fighting a war that doesn't belong to us. So many thousands of kilometers away, we don't even share a border. By the way, Haiti is the size of Isiolo. What are we doing in a country the size of Isiolo, keeping peace there, and we don't have peace in our own country? Bandits are rummaging things all over. So I keep telling you, that is why they praise President William Ruto, because he's helping them achieve their agenda. It's not our agenda. Anytime an American praises you, just know that you're the person on the table, you're the one being eaten.
You are the food. Yes. Cyrus, this is what President
Before
Ruto...
that, let me add something on what
No, it's on the same.
Security and stability. Have always stood ready and willing to do our part to bring peace, security, and stability. This is why we cannot turn away from Haiti. Doing nothing in the face of the human suffering is therefore absolutely out of question.
Was it genuine?
Our firm position.
You know, Ruto believed when you support America, you become untouchable. You can commit all crimes at home, but America is on your side. So when he went there, his idea was whatever Americans want me to do. So William, in his mind, was, I'm with America. America is America. And therefore, I'm untouchable. Where does Trump and his allies make their money from? Real estate and oil. And that's why Trump is saying, we are going to increase oil production in the US. So these are economic interests. So the lady who just said she has resigned was serving, and she's a businesswoman also, she was serving interests
of the Democrats.
Of a section in business where Democrats excel. That's all she was doing. So William was just a puppet in the whole thing.
So he allowed himself to be used as a puppet? Or he didn't have a choice?
In my view, of course he had a choice. He's a leader of a sovereign country. And you can make up your mind and say, yes, you are my ally. But there are certain things I'll not do. Yes, we think the same, but I cannot do A, B, C, D. Yes, what you're talking about, GMO, my people survive on agriculture. And
Cannot kill agriculture.
And I cannot kill agriculture. There are things you agree with your allies, and the topmost interest is your people, those who elected you. Allies will never elect you. So you put the interest of the people first, then you agree with your friends what you can do together with them.
Okay. Something else he touched when he went to, now when he visited the US White House, is on the issues.
I am confident, Mr. President, that the partnership between the United States of America and Kenya will give us the solutions that the world so seriously needs. And we will be discussing a range of issues from peace and security in our region, recognizing the heavy lifting Kenya is doing in supporting peace and security efforts in the Horn of Africa, in the Great Lakes region. And I want to say, Mr. President, we value the support, the friendship, and the collaboration the United States has given Kenya and our region to make sure that we undertake our responsibilities in securing our region.
Are we securing Africa? Or was it just...
Is Africa insecure? Let's start there.
Some parts.
Africa
yes.
left on its own is not insecure.
Left alone, it's
Africa left on its own is not insecure. You know, they've painted the image of an African as this guy who, when he wakes up and he's given food to eat and a sword, he chooses a sword to go and butcher his brother. That's not how we are wired. And that's how they want the world to look at us. Most of the wars fought in Africa, if you ask what they're about, they've got nothing to do with Africans. DRC will never be stable because it's rich. So much timber, there's so much wealth, there's so much minerals. And every time there's a war in DRC, there's a white man siphoning from DRC. There is no war in DRC. No. By the way, if we extinguish the West, Africa will be stable and without a lot of trouble. Look at Mali. How long have they had this young president? And now they are saying they've paid all their debts. Like magic. I was speaking to someone who told me they once put these small cameras they put on the road to count how many vehicles use Thika Road in one day, in 1 week, in 1 month. And they said the sheer amount of money collectible from fuel levy alone in this country can do wonders. So Africa is not poor. The reason they give us money is, but let me tell you, World Bank and IMF are banks. It's like your bank. And your bank is this guy who gives you an umbrella when the sun is out. When it starts raining, they come for it. Why are they not giving money to Somalia if their interest was to build Africa? Why is IMF not having an office in Somalia? If you can't pay, they won't give you money. If they can't extort you twice what they give you, they won't give you money. Africa is not at war. Africa is being put at loggerheads. And by the way, how many weapons does Africa make? How many guns do we make?
We do not.
So whose weapons are we using to fight? And who is the builder of these weapons? Why would they want to close their own trade? They have to keep making you fight. And then they sell weapons to each of you and then they laugh at you. And by the way, when you look at the cost of one AK-47 and you ask yourself, I think probably in its lifetime, it never pays itself back. So these weapons are very expensive. So from where we sit, Africa is not at war. Africa is being made to fight for things that they don't even know what they are fighting for.
Is Kenya helping bring peace in the Horn of Africa? Because even former President Kenyatta was nominated for that space to chair.
You can't appoint somebody and say, oh, Kenya is bringing peace when you're the cause of that instability, when you're the cause of all those problems. Just as Fanya just as he has put it, DRC is a very secure country, other than its border with its friends, its neighbors. We are all in the East African community. But somebody somewhere is supporting some instability, not for anything, but for commercial interests. So Africa has no single war that does not have foreign interest. And unfortunately, you can't say there is a war in Africa and the foreign interest is China, for instance. All the instability in Africa is either Europe or the US. And they're the same people who come up. And tomorrow, all of us are rushing to Europe. We are going to look for green pastures, leaving all the wealth in Africa. We are running to America. I support Trump. Chase all those people away. Let them come back to Africa and build their country.
But do you think actually he's going? You say the US has been funding a lot of those war-oriented security, whatever, safety things and peace. Do you think Trump is going to keep on pushing, or is the trend going to change?
In my view, Trump will only protect one nation, Israel.
No. Here it's on Africa. The interest
on
for
Africa, I don't think he has any interest in Africa. And he has said it. With all the wealth you have, you can't even put up an industry for toothpicks. Why the hell would an American taxpayer feed you? And I've just told you, we are 1.5 billion people in Africa. Why would we depend on 325 million Americans?
Interesting question. And there was a conference that was going on during his first term as president,
Africa,
and this is what he said. So really,
of tremendous.
let me restart it.
Africa, I have to say, is a continent of tremendous potential. The outlook is bright. I look forward to hearing from you and your advice during the meal. I thought rather than just eating, we'll have long discussions, and I look forward to that very much. But I also look forward to getting to know so many of you, and so many of you I do know. And it's an honor. It's an honor. And I really want to congratulate you. Growing very fast, economically and in every other way. You've done a terrific job. You've had some tremendous obstacles placed in your path, but you have done really an absolutely incredible job. So I want to thank you. And I look forward to our discussion. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
This was his
Honest
first term.
speech. A lot of obstacles placed in your way. The only thing he stopped saying is by who.
Why did he even say that? Maybe.
He knows the obstacles we face in Africa is not a creation of Africa. Look at DRC, the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, right from independence, the sustaining of Mobutu Sese Seko, all through. Who was responsible? So Trump is being very honest. Despite the obstacles put in your way, you are really struggling to move. You're economically growing. He's being sincere. So the only thing Africa should ask Trump is one, help us for Europe and America not to interfere in our internal affairs.
Help us.
Help us. That's the help we need from, of course, he'll say America first.
Yeah.
So we'll not get that nonsense from America saying, okay, if you are Uganda, you have been removed from AGOA because you have come up with laws. At least he'll help us. So Uganda can grow decently. They are not being forced. You will grow based on your beliefs, based on your standards. And by the way, the Republicans have some morality. When you deal with the Democrats, you are dealing with people who are totally earthly. They have no moral, nothing. They don't care about anything other than their interests. And if they can do away with you so that they can have Africa's ranches to come for holidays and reduce your population to 500 million from 1.5 billion, the better for them.
West Africa has been basically a France-dominated quote-unquote region, but they're being kicked by the juntas. Do you think Trump will have any interest in the Sahel region?
In my view, as long as it is Africa, Trump, his business associate, and the thinking of that camp, it is interests. And if Africa starts producing things that interest their section of business, then they'll have business with them. Otherwise, they're not bothered because there's no interest. And you see, what we want is for them not to be bothered to allow us to move forward. In fact, for me, World Bank and IMF, being agents of the West, we should take them to court. Why are they giving us money when we have failed to pay them? They have given us and we don't pay. We have other loans that we are rescheduling. If somebody is incapable of paying his debts, why are you adding him more money? Secondly, all through, We've just been taking loans, the executive, they decide, where is the public participation in these loans that we are borrowing? Yet it's the public that is going to pay those loans.
Moving on, the way Africa is going to relate with Trump in terms of business.
We will also be having the opportunity to discuss the investment opportunities, trade, and hopefully we will be able to persuade the United States to renew the Africa Growth and Opportunities Act that gives Africa the opportunity for access to markets so that we can create more jobs, we can create more wealth, and we can spread prosperity across our continent.
So the AGOA treaty, which he's talking about, was to be signed before the elections, but it has not been renewed. What happens between Kenya and US business? Because these are
Why are you
duty-free.
dying for a market of 325 million people? We have an African market of 1.5 billion people. We have China with a market of 1.4 billion people. We have India, huge market.
Yeah.
So what is this small market you are dying for? When Ziping was meeting African leaders the other day, he opened up and said 100% goods from Africa. No taxation, no tariffs, zero. Meaning he's opened it up for you to trade with 1.4 billion people. Here you are, desperate, thinking doing business with 325 million people is better than doing business with 1.4 billion. And you beg, you kneel for it, I can tell you for free, AGOA has changed nothing in Africa.
In the time it's operated.
Nothing.
And by the way, AGOA is premised on the idea of creating manufacturing factories. I've always told Kenyans the demand for avocado in China is insatiable. As many as you can produce, they can eat.
1.4 billion.
As many as you can produce, they can eat. So before you think of huge ideas you want to put up a factories, what machine are you even buying? Just do avocado, do it the right way, package the right way. We have people who can eat more avocados than you can produce as a country. Zile mnapeleka leo, they eat, and tomorrow they need more. And the price of avocado in China is crazy. The demand for timber in China is insatiable. If you were to cut all your trees in the country and you are left naked and you took to China, they would ask you, do you have more timber? So if we had chosen to just plant wood trees to sell timber to China, would be rich. So I am telling you, we have a leadership vacuum. It's just all, that's all. Hakuna leadership is full stop. There's nothing else we are having a conversation about in this country. You don't need those AGOA treaties.
Need them. He has talked
Are you
about
guys dismissing
avocado.
the US?
He has talked about
What is
avocado.
US?
But you know it's numbers.
I know.
Numbers don't lie.
That's true.
And where is the US?
Is it that
Why do you want to go
talk
so
English
far?
that twangs that is forcing you to think America
A flight
is
from
the
here
whole
to
world?
China.
We know militarily they are might.
Yeah.
We know we must respect them. We know we must work with them. We know they are good allies to work with. But they'll never change our lifestyle. They'll never improve us from where we are. That is clear. Just to add on what he's saying, if you are able to export 1 million tons of cassava, a crop that can thrive even in dry areas, China will buy all of it.
1.4 billion.
At 1 million tons, 2 million, 10 million tons a month, you will export. If you have the port facilities to handle it.
And
So
also
why
before
aren't we focusing on things that will bring income to us, change our lives, then we grow, look at our research institutions. What are these factories, basic factories that we can put up to get our young people engaged, to get and even those industries, other than what is researched here. If we have raw materials, can't we, the cheapest thing on the globe is brain, can't we buy the brains to design the factories that we want to industrialize Africa? Because the cheapest thing on the globe is brain. Pay for it, you have it.
All you need to do is pay.
And even before you leave here, let me ask you, if we were to sell anything to AGOA, do you think we would sell more than 10 million items?
Nothing.
Nothing. But if you want to sell toothpicks, you can sell to the first market of Kenyans. 50 million Kenyans use toothpicks, apart from the ones who are breastfeeding. Anybody who has teeth in their mouth uses toothpicks. So when we say we are not importing more toothpicks in this country, the number of jobs you'd create is enormous. It takes one idiot to import a container load of toothpicks. It would take so many young people to make a container load of toothpicks. So that alone, before you think of an external market, by the way, for every 10 shilling a Kenyan earns, they spend 5 in China.
Yeah, because
Your toothpick is going. So you work so hard today. Unafanya kazi ya mjengo. But once you earn your income, 50% of your money, you spend it in China. To buy a coffee from China. You buy 60 years after independence, we can't make our own underwear. I wish they can come up with a disease that affects imported underwear when it's new. So that sisi wote tukue wagonjwa, then we'll never buy imported underwear. We cannot have a country that 60 years after independence, we have to clothe our own women in imported underwear. What kind of men are we? We have got not... By the way, we
but
have
you know,
seen what lawyers...
even men are not doing
Let me defend lawyers. We've seen what lawyers have done for this country.
Yeah.
They've put to test our 2010 constitution. They've done engineers. Where are they? Which camera has engineers? You know these people. They've not even built a bicycle. So many years now we've educated them with so much money. Our engineers need to give us a refund as a country.
Maybe it's because they've accommodated someone to take over their name. That's the problem.
Sarah,
someone. There's another engineer who
That's
wears
the
white
problem.
trousers.
Another thing, Sarah, you must not. Nigeria, 225 million people, plus
Yes.
DRC, 115 million people, is a higher population than the population you are so desperate
To sell to.
to serve or to sell to. That is America. Because DRC, 115 million people plus the other one, is a higher number than the entire population of the US. So
And they're closer.
Let us open up Africa and do trade amongst ourselves and look for where we can do trade where we have numbers that can accommodate us. And let me tell you another thing, which you might not be aware of. The Kenya government today, led by William Ruto, is desperately trying to find a way to join BRICS.
Yes, and I was coming to that because I was going to ask now
Because
that
they have just realized they were serving those platitudes, those big things we will develop together. It was nothing.
no, the issue is actually when you look at it, why we've been chasing maybe the West is because the dollar has been dominating the market, so it makes a lot of economic sense. But now there's a proposal to join BRICS, and our neighbors, also Uganda, want to join. So is that the right direction for Africa?
That's the
to
right
take?
direction. Look at the population. Africa and China alone, we form a third of the world population. A third. BRICS is larger, much larger than that.
Yeah, because
So what
we
are you
also have
looking-
India.
Yeah, we
and
have
Brazil.
India.
Russia is
1
there.
point something billion. Russia is there. Some countries in South America are there.
Egypt is there.
Egypt is there.
Yeah.
That's a huge population. to
UAE
trade
has
with.
joined.
UAE and the Middle East are there.
Yeah.
UAE, there is money. Technologies
There's oil.
in China. There is oil. India, you'll get cottage industries. We have the raw materials. Let us use our heads and start growing.
So do you think President Ruto will be serious about joining BRICS, or is it a thing that if Trump changes his mind, then we switch back? Because we've
There's
been
a
playing
problem.
in
To
between
me, he's
East and
doing
West.
politics.
There's a problem.
That's what
There is
saying.
nothing he does that is in interest of Kenyans. William only does things that are of his own interest.
Personal or national interest.
If you went to William and told him, every Kenyan will have clean water if you do ABCD, he'll ask you how much is it? Is it for me? That is how low we have sunk.
Sad.
BRICS, I have always told Kenyans, for you to understand BRICS, BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China,
South Africa.
South Africa.
Now
and
there's a plus at the
Egypt,
end.
plus a few others.
Yeah.
Wataongezea. Kenya can be compared to this girl who goes to bed at night, she's naked. Then she's now telling Putin, you're going to sleep right here. She laughs. Then tells Trump, you're going to sleep right here. So let's switch off the lights and let's sleep. You're literally telling Putin as a girl to sleep on this side, and you're telling, that's the image that I could come closest to, telling Trump to sleep on this side. And Trump will come to that bed and say, I was about to make Kenya great again, but now you have Putin in this bed. It's not gonna work. Because these people are speaking de-dollarization. They are saying we are not going to use the dollar. And Putin wants to make America great again by increasing the number of people who are using the dollar.
Trump.
Trump.
Yes.
Well,
So-
he could also be a president.
But you see now they're already in the same bed, so it's a mess. So this Kenyan girl is not going to enjoy anything that night because the two gentlemen will go outside and start fighting. And she has to choose where she's going to be recruited to.
But you know those
The
two
Kenyan
Kenya is in a very-
girl is just confused.
Yeah, she's confused.
She doesn't know
Yeah.
who to lay.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem.
gentlemen, President Ruto had this to say about the war between Russia and Ukraine sometimes back.
Established a multilateral institutional framework to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been a horrifying spectacle of carnage and devastation, which has left 500,000 people dead and 7.1 million people displaced in its wake. Across the world, people and nations are enduring the negative consequences of disrupted supply chains. Kenya's position has been clear and unequivocal from the beginning. Russia's aggression against Ukraine is unlawful, unjust, and a violation of the fundamental principles of international law,
Yes,
which
that
honor
is
the
it.
sovereign equality of nations, upholds
So
their
with that,
territorial
do you think
integrity,
President
and
Putin will
advocates
welcome?
peaceful.
Let me tell you.
President
No, just leave it. There is some game. You don't belong to it. You are a small toddler down there. You can't even feed yourself. Who are you to comment about Russia, comment about Ukraine, and your children are sleeping hungry? What role are you going to play? Look at Tanzania, look at Uganda. What have they said about that war?
I think they had.
Why are you
because
being thoughtless? I mean, it's like your head doesn't work at all. You don't belong to that class. Full stop.
So Kenya should
Focus on
stay-
your issues.
This is my response, and it's very simple. I have always had a very simple response to this issue, and I have always made it very clear. Number one, Russia is fighting with Ukraine. Are these the same guys who gave you fertilizer? The Russians that you're saying have invaded Ukraine. Mkakuja mkaongeza changarawa huku.
They
and then
sold
you
it.
give- They sold
They
it.
were given for free.
Yeah,
they
they
sold
sold
and pocketed the money.
Yes. So first you shouldn't have a conversation based on that. And secondly, just the other day in Kwale, we had this Mashujaji and there was this Tundege of ours flying there. I've always told people, the aeroplanes we use here saying we are displaying for war are the ones that are used to do crop rotation and irrigation and to put out
F5.
fires.
So who is using F5 today?
Those things are used by Russians to put out bushfires. So then you are coming to a country that has got, they are calling intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Who
Have
are
you
you?
ever had
What are you
such a thing?
commenting?
Kenyans don't even know there is a ballistic
You
missile.
know the size of your shoe.
Now you have a plane they are using to put out bushfires. Is the one you want to go and stand against Russia and telling them you are attacking Ukraine. Hiyo ndege yako anaizima kwa hewa hivi like.
You people, are you saying that Kenya, a sovereign state,
Mtukufu rais wanaopita sasa kwa anga.
should never comment about anything Russia? Just generally.
Our
least.
policy,
What does our foreign policy
our
say?
foreign policy since independence was an alignment. We knew we had no capacity, we had no strengths. We do not want to align with anybody. Let us work with everybody in the interest of our country.
You have an
Now
old,
today you are a NATO blue-eyed boy. For what? To provide labor?
To get money.
To provide soldiers?
you have an old diesel tuk-tuk. And then a guy passes you with a Porsche Cayenne and then you are asking, that guy, he thinks he's so fast.
Yeah,
I have
and you are in a
problem.
tuk-tuk.
You are in a tuk-tuk, 65 kilometers per hour, ndio imeandikwa hapo nyuma. That guy's speedometer is clocking 260.
300.
You know me, as the proud Kenyan I am, there's something else I have found out. The Kenyan ambassador to Russia, just the other day, he's been posted and presented his papers last week to President Putin, and he said, his name is Mathuki, Peter Mutuku Matuki said,
Mathuki.
yes, Kenya intends to intensify cooperation with the Russian Federation in the fields of nuclear and renewable energy, and that I see how Russia advanced in economic issues, and this is another sector in which we can develop together, especially nuclear energy. Do you think that's a possibility?
I want to tell you, that is our true foreign policy. What Ruto is yapping is not our foreign policy. Who does he consult?
Maybe Mudavadi, he's
No, we should have
Who does
been
he
working
consult?
hard.
When you know it all, and
foreign
you have,
affairs
you have
cabinet.
technical people in offices who know exactly what our foreign policy is, and you go making statements that are totally contradictory to your foreign policy.
In fact, remove nuclear first. I think this guy is ahead of time. His head is not working properly. Remove nuclear from that statement. We live on the equator. Even when it's raining, we still have the sun. Kenya should have been discussing with countries that will help us use our solar energy. Number two, remove that nuclear again. And instead of that nuclear, replace it with fertilizer. Our farmers don't have fertilizer. Our cooperation with Russia right now should be on them teaching us first how to make basic things like fertilizer, and on them teaching us how to use our own solar energy to panel. Why do we need, Russia needs nuclear energy because sometimes in places they go to -20. It becomes very cold in parts of Russia. That's why they always have the Count Pushkin vodka they keep taking everywhere they go. I mean, they have to survive. Here we are on the equator.
But we drink.
We
all
should
the
not be
time.
discussing nuclear
We
energy.
drink
Let me
vodka all the
add just a bit of variance with what Fanya Mambo is saying. We seriously need nuclear energy. Why? The cost. The cost of production is what matters. The cheapest energy on the globe is nuclear energy, slightly less than 3 cents per megawatt. Everything else is beyond 6 cents, going to 7, 8 cents, including solar.
Kenya is 31 shillings.
And remember,
one token.
even in the 10 points Xi talked about, he talked about cooperation with Africa on nuclear energy.
Yeah.
He did. And that is the same thing the Kenyan ambassador is talking about. So the Kenyan ambassador is right. Number two, Kibaki, you remember, they put up that nuclear authority, the authority
yes.
for Kenya. And we had made a few steps. Countries like Egypt, who we are supposed to be competing with, they are so advanced in the construction of their nuclear power generation. And I think it's Rosatom which is doing it, the Russians. We should be looking at producing the cheapest possible energy if we want to industrialize. So our foreign policy and our ambassador in Russia is on the spot.
So
as
is
far as
he
I'm concerned.
communicating to the president then?
Does the president listen to anybody?
I have never spoken to him. I can't
He's
speak
with us.
for him.
The president is the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Minister of Defense, Minister of Housing, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of everything.
Have you tried speaking to him? He's your friend.
I wish he was. He used to be.
So, moving now back to Trump again. He said, let me actually just play the clip.
And take the exact opposite. If you go and take the exact opposite for 40 years of Biden's foreign policy, you would be. If you go and take the exact opposite for 40 years of Biden's foreign policy, you would be one of the greatest. Just take the opposite, you'd be one of the greatest in the history of foreign policy. So we're gonna work with them very closely. We're gonna work with all nations. We're not going to have World War III. We're closer to World War III right now than we have been ever, maybe, ever. And that will be a war like no other because the power of the weaponry, nuclear weapons, and power it's indescribable, and you don't even want to think about it. And it's mentioned all the time. I never mentioned nuclear. I never we rebuilt our military. We rebuilt the military. We had to these people gave a lot of military to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. They have parades to show it. And those are very embarrassing moments for our country, but we're going to take good care of, frankly, we're going to take care of everything. We're going to straighten out the world.
We went to the nuclear way. So are we closer? Is World War III happening now?
What he's saying is true. And I want to tell you, you might not like the way Trump phrases his statements. But the guy has something in his head. What he's talking about is reality. And if we had that kind of Biden system for another 4 years in America, we would likely have a third world war. It is good that the Republicans won.
Do you think a war is coming? by any chance.
You know, I'm happy that even if he's Western, he didn't want to vouch for Hamala. You know, Hamala shares the name from their side. She's
They even
Luya.
have a bishop.
They say she's Luya.
Kamala.
Hamala Harris, Handi na Kubaranga. Although, anyway, I am happy, as I said, God is fair.
Yeah,
and he
he's
looks
fair.
at the world and says, I think for now,
I'll sort it out.
America
And he
needs
sorted
Trump.
it out.
And I like the fact that he had a convincing win. See, kama ile ingine when people were guessing whether he won or
And he's
This
in
was-
charge of everything.
This one was so solid. It was so
Excellent.
clear. It was so clean. And by the way, there's just one light angle I want to put in, and I know the women will hate me for this, but it's the truth. Women will talk a lot about feminism and supporting fellow women and doing everything for women. And they will shout it and say what a woman can do, a man can do, a woman can do better. They will say everything, I'm standing. The statistics are now saying the truth. That actually so many women voted for Trump. In fact, Kamala Harris got very, very many votes from men that she even got from women.
Black men in particular.
So, or black men, handy. So the thing is, let's just agree that at least now the good thing is sometimes when some of these ladies say some things, we choose to believe them until we get to see the truth about what they truly mean. And I think it's a task now to every woman out there. Start supporting your own. Start being truly truthful to some. Mother Karua vied here. Still, there were more men voting for her than women. So, and women, by the way, were all over the internet saying, Asimama na mama, stop lying to us. Let us at least be truthful and let us put our votes where our mouth is.
In
Because
support of
campaigns can lie to you.
I knew you will speak when he mentioned Martha.
No, in support of what he's saying. Okay, Martha is my friend. I
Of
don't
course.
deny it. We are very good friends.
No, we also want her to be president anyway.
She's genuine. She's straightforward. People fear her because she's too hard. They believe she's too hard. Kenya needs somebody very hard.
Harder than her.
Harder than her. Because one, the culture in Kenya is that Kenyans are thieves. Even young people, when they talk, they want to be employed, National Youth Service, as accountants, when Anna Waiguru was there, and the people are carrying money in bags. We need to change our culture as Kenyans. And we need somebody who will strictly stick to the rule of law.
That's true.
And uncompromising when it comes to the nonsense of stealing from your brother, he's sleeping hungry, and you are primitively accumulating wealth that your head cannot create. How do you use what you cannot create? You're just stealing because you didn't create it. So how can you use it? How can you make it effective? That's why Dubai today has so much money from Kenya, you'll be shocked. And you know what they don't know? If you buy an apartment in Dubai, nobody can inherit it. When you die, it goes back to the UAE government.
So they're wasting our monies.
They have stolen your money on behalf of the Arabs. When your account there, you are dead. Nobody can inherit it. It goes to the UAE government. Why don't you, even if you stole and reinvested here, you'll create 1 or 2 jobs.
Hata ya caretaker
Such a
tu.
waste.
At a caretaker, why are you wasting our taxes by taking it to UAE?
But hey, politicians, if you're stealing money, because we know you're stealing, just invest in the economy. We need money circulating in
Yeah.
this country. So stop that nonsense of sending money away. Then now we don't have money in the country. It's not nice.
Which even your children will never access.
Also, like, how much
That
is
makes
too
sense,
much?
eh?
Like, some of you steal so much. Like, what do you want to do with that? If you died today, 10 generations will still use it. Like, how much is too much for you, though? Anyway, back to Trump. Here's something else I need you to... Yes.
Energy independent.
I want to understand why Trump is pro-Israel.
Energy independent 4 years ago. I saw the new number, $1.84 a gallon gasoline, and now you have 3.5 and 4. And you had 5 for a while, and you had 6 and 7 even for a while. But a lot of things. So we're going to take care of Israel. We work with Israel. They say that in Israel, I could maybe run, if things didn't work out here, you could run for Prime Minister of Israel, and I get 97% of the vote. So, and of course I kid, because you know what happens when you do the little sarcasm and the kidding, they go, well, he said he's running for, That's the fake news doing that. And that's a lot of fake news you have back there. That's very impressive.
Trump is just being an American.
So we're going to do a lot for Israel, and we're behind them. And the big thing, we want to have peace.
Why is it that Trump is big on supporting Israel when everyone is against them?
For two reasons. One, his base is Christianity. The American Christians support Trump tremendously. Number two, it's not America which is helping Israel. It is Israel that helps America. The economy of America is run by Jews. If they removed the economy from America, it is bankrupt. So who is serving who? It is Israel that is sustaining, or the Israelis who are sustaining America. And the only thing America has done is to produce weapons. And those weapons will not run without fuel. If the Israeli removed all his money and said our men are going to Europe, America becomes bankrupt. So the only thing is that you must support everything that Israel wants with zeal so that that money remains here, so that the economy of America doesn't collapse.
And Fanya Mambo, the oil politics in Middle East. So is it what he's saying? Or is it that these Jewish people are getting money from Middle East through the oil business?
China are geniuses. They looked ahead and said, why are we thinking about oil? Now what are they doing to Kenya? Japan is busy manufacturing their traditional cars. China is only manufacturing electric vehicles. How many buses have you seen today, electric buses, when you are coming? These guys are using their head. You continue fighting about your stupid fossil fuel. There was a time when the world was using coal. Who talks about coal anymore? So what you need to do is to have people who refuse to think like the flock. You continue with your Middle East oil. China sai mpaka tu Uber wameanza kuleta Uber huku tumejaa twingi sana electric. Within a very short time, every other car in this country will be a Chinese car, not a Japanese car, not an American car. Right now, they are doing some of the best SUVs and exporting them to the United States of America. Let's not have a conversation that our grandfathers had. I have always had this thing in my mind. If my grandfather was talking about something, I don't want to talk about it. Maguta, fuel, mwarabu akona mafuta. Why? But if my grandfather was having that conversation, I should not have it in 2024. And this is the kind of leadership within it. The Chinese are not talking about oil. They are not talking about those wells. They are busy manufacturing electronic
artificial
vehicles.
Intelligence, electronic, everything.
I like the forward thinking, but unfortunately, the way the politics of the world is, there is that space going on. And this is a clip for the previous term, which I want you to react and tell me why he said this.
I was saddened by the fate of the Palestinian people. They deserve a far better life. They deserve the chance to achieve their extraordinary potential. Palestinians have been trapped in a cycle of terrorism, poverty, and violence, exploited by those seeking to use them as pawns to advance terrorism and extremism.
Why did he say it in the presence of Benjamin Netanyahu?
What he's saying is carries some truth. This radicalism, and it was here in our neighborhood in Somalia, it's going down. A lot of people serving their own interest tend to use religion to exploit the innocent. The difference in the Middle East is exacerbated by religious extremism. So when he talks about extremists, he's right. And remember, anything extreme in your life is actually what is evil. Even if you love somebody too much that you can commit suicide, it's evil. So everything must be in moderation. So whatever he's talking about is 100% correct. It is not the Palestinians that are a problem. It is the extremists that are a problem. And these are people who can be identified and dealt with. And that is why Israel has I feel bad when I see children dying. I feel bad when I see pregnant women suffering, to a point whereby you can even start saying, what is wrong with Israel? The only thing I support Israel on is when they target the leaders and assassinate them, the extremists, because that is the problem. It's not the common Palestinian who is the problem. There are those extremists. When somebody tells you, I will annihilate you, you should not exist, you must defend yourself, for sure. But that is not the masses. Those are just a few people who are exploiting religion.
And the problem is, in the process, they kill a lot of...
In the process, they cause a lot of damage. How much damage did Osama cause because of extremism? Remember the bringing down those 2 towers in America? How many people died? So why would you blame somebody who will do whatever it takes to find Osama and kill him?
So in your opinion...
In my opinion, the leadership that is extreme has to come to an end. And the Arab world, to save themselves and save the suffering of the people in Gaza, is only fair because they can reach these extremists. They should sit them down and tell them, listen, let us have a Palestinian state. We should not have our people suffering. Allow the Israeli state. Don't tell them we'll annihilate them. Let us coexist.
So these world leaders involved in this circus, we have Trump, of course. Trump is an ally of Putin, and he's an ally of, what's his name? Benjamin Netanyahu. How is that circus going to look like?
Interest. When you go into a situation where you have friends, Putin is not against Netanyahu, neither is Xi Jinping against Netanyahu or the Israelis. Netanyahu, of course, is con also because he's trying to use this war to retain power.
Yeah.
So he's also becoming unreasonable when it comes to concluding this war. So Netanyahu must be made to be reasonable, and the extremists, the Arab states, must prevail on them to become reasonable. Because it's also business for them. They'll go to Iran and get free money under the pretense that we are oppressed. Yet, if you sit on the depth, remember this, no war will ever solve any problem.
Yes.
You only can sit on a table, be reasonable, be logical, and say, stop exploiting this situation for business. The so-called extremist leaders of Hezbollah, of Hamas, most of them, their life is affluence. But the common man down there is suffering because whatever money they'll get from Iran or other Arab states in the name of religion, some of it, a majority of it, is used to make them comfortable. What ends to the common man? Nothing. So it is both sides becoming reasonable. Netanyahu should agree that he committed crimes in Israel. He should go away, give way to another leader, let him face the law, let him be jailed, and not use this war to retain himself in power.
Okay.
At the same time, the extremists in the Middle East, the Arab governments must be able to come up seriously and say, don't use the Quran
To promise virgins.
to do crazy things. 7 virgins go and die and bomb so and so. Those nonsense must come to an end.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's both ways to me.
And as we conclude, I want to shift to something different. We're coming to an end because we need to leave. I want your reaction on this about President Ruto.
We have also decided that
Take that.
it will not going to be business as usual. We have these meetings, Africa, US meeting, Africa, Europe, Africa, Turkey, Africa, India. Now we are waiting for, there is another one, Africa, Russia.
And Africa, Japan.
And Africa, Japan. We have made the decision that it is not intelligent for 54 of us to go and sit before one gentleman from another place.
Didn't he go to sit the other day?
I mean,
Talk what you can handle.
Wait.
and sometimes we are mistreated.
Yeah.
You know, we are loaded into buses like school kids.
The president was not happy to be put
and
in a
it's
bus.
not-
Do you
it's
think
not right.
he's genuine in
Comment.
his statements?
Okay, first and foremost,
If he's given money, he'll go on a tuk-tuk for his pocket.
after this speech, he rushed to the China, Africa, immediately after. Immediately after. So I think William doesn't listen to Ruto and Ruto doesn't listen to William. Those are two separate people who do two separate things. So when he's speaking, you need to know who's speaking. Because what William says today, Ruto will do the opposite tomorrow. And what Ruto says today, William will do the opposite tomorrow. And I'm not surprised that he said that, because after that, he's attended 2 or 3 more. In fact, Gen Z's had curtailed his travel. That was a very difficult time for him.
But
He
now
was
he's
not
back.
understanding why he's not flying. And you know, ile ndege ya marafiki bado iko. But don't take him very seriously on some of these things. And okay, they are saying they are being bundled into buses. I ask myself, what is the economy of VW or Mercedes? What are they worth? Probably those 50 African presidents put in that bus are being put in that bus because giving you a motorcade is going to affect the traffic in Germany, and all of your economies combined are probably the size of VW or Mercedes-Benz. So it is better off to provide a road for the owner of Mercedes-Benz and their executives to drive than some African guys who think they're important, and your economy is like now.
It's less than a company's economy.
Exactly. So the CEO of BMW in Germany should be accorded a road to use. But you're a president of a country that can't feed its own children. You're a president of a country that can't give medical care
Whose
to its own
economy is
people.
not even 50%
Whose economy
of a single company.
is not 50% of a single company, and then you want to
people
be
are very
given.
personal.
You want to be
You're not
given.
addressing the
They
concerns.
should be given
This is
tuk-tuk
the-
to ride on. What is this pride you have and you are a beggar? Who is asking you to go to China?
Yeah.
Who is asking you to go to Russia?
Yeah.
Stay home.
You are going
if
to
can
another
afford
country
it.
to give
You are going
terms.
there to beg.
So you should stay
because
home
as
and make
Africans, we have provided horrible leadership to our people.
Yeah.
That's a good place.
And finally,
This is a
allow
final
me to
clip.
say this
Okay.
one thing, just one
Yes.
thing. You know, on the Gaza thing, I didn't say something.
Oh,
and
yes,
in
yes,
30
yes.
seconds, I'll just say this. I think if anybody understands what happens in Gaza, it's like a small strip. Israel on this side, then the ocean, and then the pharaohs on this side. Those guys have never left. Ni kama uwekwe the size of something smaller than the size of
It's an
Kiambu
open
County.
jail.
A small thing. You can't move this side. You can't move this side. If you don't have a hospital there, you die. If you don't, those guys have never seen anything outside of their country. Planes can't fly in, planes can't fly out, food cannot be brought to them. I don't know what would happen to the Americans if they were put in Gaza. And I think that's the experiment we need to do. We take a plane load of American politicians and put them in Gaza for a week for them to understand how it feels like to be locked in a little jail, because it's a jail. And the pharaohs on this side are very hostile. So I think for me, when you're looking for extremists, they live inside Israel.
I think just make a 2-state, apply it and make it practical.
Both
That's
sides,
what I
the
mean.
extremists.
Your view about Viktor Orban and EU, and let me just play what Trump said about Orban. I think he's very excited about.
One thing, if I could, somebody that a lot of people respect a lot, Viktor Orban from Hungary. So he's the prime minister, and he made the statement. He said, when Trump comes back as president, everything's going to be perfect. And it was for 4 years. And I know exactly what he was talking about. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So Trump is very excited that Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, is on his side. And he actually tweeted after Trump won. How do you think EU generally is going to work with the Trump administration?
Let me tell you, the Ukraine war is not Zelensky war. It's an American war, a Democrat war.
Yes.
That's the reality. The war was not started by Russia. It was provocation of Russia. So Trump knows what he's talking about. And he's happy about that prime minister because he's finding like-minded people who will look for harmony across the globe rather than incitement because you want to create a market for weapons. So he's right.
Is Trump going to end the wars in 24 hours as promised?
He will. I think the Ukraine war is over. just let Russia occupy Ukraine. It was their territory. They had lost several. And if they had kept quiet about Ukraine, they would have lost more. It's a high time they reclaim back everything that belongs to them. And that's it. It ends there. It ends there. Those people even speak Russian. I don't even know what you're talking about. Which Ukraine is that? They speak Russian. There's no country there. Just, in fact, remove the border, the war is over. They should have made, in fact, this guy, if he was clever, if I was the president of Ukraine that time, this artist, I would simply have told, as a comedian, like my MP, he should have just told, yes, KJ is a comedian. He should have just told these guys, you know what, hey, wait, don't even start a war. Yeah, I'll become a governor of a state of Ukraine within the Russian Federation. Give me the terms and how you want us to work. I'll sign. Would have been no war in Ukraine.
I'm just concerned for him. I'm just wondering.
No, he was foolish. There are people you don't fight with.
No,
it's like vile nimekwambia hizi ndege zetu za pest control. Then you are putting
Kila mnazungumuza mambo ya ati sasa sisi we will go flat out to we contribute peace in the world. It's a joke. Allies of sijui NATO,
that time you have G3.
sijui Haiti. I mean, it's a big joke.
with a G3 rifle that fought the Second World War.
No, honestly.
Your capacity is not even a knife. Because you don't even manufacture knives. That's the best weapon you can produce.
But then we don't
maybe a spear.
Yeah.
Our Muiko is imported from China.
Yeah. If that is your capacity and you're talking and commanding as if you are a nuclear power, there is something wrong with your head.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I tell you, if you want to know, look at even our parades. Our men are in G3 rifles. G3 rifles fought the Second World War.
We still have G3 rifles.
1945, Second World War. Now you are going into a war with someone. In fact, I think they go to Ukraine, they start looking and asking, what is this? It's a gun. How does it work? You know how ours is. You have to put on the shoulder.
Yes.
I mean, they are wondering. These guys have been hit with a culture shock. Because you see a guy with things that look like decorations, kumbe they are bullets.
My concern is actually where Zelensky is going to beg. Because, you know, every time I remember that clip of him saying, our partners, you need to give us money. Now, where is he going to beg? Because Trump won't go that
Zelensky
way.
was just looking, you know, he's a comedian. He was looking for comfortable life. And he agreed. He's another president. He tries to serve interests of people who are so great compared to the interests of your people. Just like we are trying to serve the interests of America in Haiti.
From here.
Just like we are trying to talk and comment about Russia, comment about great nations. And I mean, that is Zelensky, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
He's our other William Ruto.
Gentlemen, that's a nice place to end it. Thank you so much, Fanya, Mambo, and Cyrus for coming through for our podcast this evening. We've really enjoyed ourselves on this episode, and I hope you, our audience, did. We will be live on the next episode soon. We will keep you posted. Keep checking on our socials. And by the way, remember to subscribe if you've not this far. And we hope you enjoyed. Share with us in the comment section what you think, who you think should be coming here oftentimes, because all these gentlemen are fun to hang around, yeah? Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next episodes.